Hawaii, white sand beaches, year-round sunshine, Mai Tais at sunset, the dream retirement destination, right? Here's what the travel magazines don't tell you. Roughly half of retirees who move to Hawaii end up moving back to the mainland within a few years. And we're not talking about people who underestimated groceries by $20. We're talking about people who had their finances squared away and still got financially destroyed. The median home price on Oʻahu just hit $1.125 million. But the property tax rate? Only 0.26%, lowest in the country. Sounds like a deal until you realize you're still hemorrhaging money faster than almost anywhere in America. This isn't about Hawaii being expensive. Everyone knows it's expensive. This is about the structural traps, the compounding costs, the healthcare geography that forces impossible choices, the tax system that punishes private retirement accounts, and the exit penalties that make leaving almost as costly as staying. We're breaking down 15 reasons retirees regret the move. Housing costs double the national average. Hawaii's housing cost of living index sits at 206.4. The national average is 100. You're paying more than twice the national rate just for shelter. On Oʻahu, the median single-family home price reached $1.125 million in June 2024. Financing that means monthly mortgage payments exceeding $3,800 before property taxes or HOA fees. Renting instead? Honolulu's average rent hovers between $2,800 and $2,900 per month, 43% higher than the national average. And here's the trap. You can't move to a cheaper neighbor island to escape the cost. If you prioritize healthcare access, which most retirees should, you need to be on Oʻahu. The vast majority of specialty care and high-quality hospitals are centralized there. You're forced into the most expensive real estate market in the state just to stay near doctors. The concentration of medical services dictates your location, eliminating your ability to minimize housing costs. That misleading 0.26% property tax rate? It's applied to a $1.1 million home. In 2021, 53.4% of renters and 41.3% of homeowners in Hawaii were housing cost-burdened, meaning they spent over 30% of household income just on housing. The general excise tax hits everything. Most states have a sales tax. Hawaii has the general excise tax, and it will quietly drain your budget at every transaction. The statewide get is 4%, rising to 4.5% in Honolulu County. But this isn't a tax applied once at the point of sale. It's levied at multiple stages: import, wholesale, and retail. And the kicker, get applies to healthcare. Every medical appointment, every procedure, every physical therapy session carries a mandatory 4% to 4.5% surcharge. One clinic reported paying over $12,000 in jet in a single year passed directly to patients. For retirees needing frequent medical care, this acts as a continuous financial drain. You're being taxed for staying healthy. The get also hits imported goods already marked up by shipping fees. Groceries are 31.6% higher than the national average. A gallon of milk costs $5.49. A pound of potatoes runs $5.25. Geographic isolation is fully monetized at the consumer level, making it exceptionally difficult to budget for basic needs. State income tax punishes private retirement accounts. Hawaii's state income tax has graduated rates up to 11%, among the highest in the nation. The state exempts Social Security benefits and public or military pension income. But if you're a private sector retiree relying on distributions from a 401k or traditional IRA, Hawaii fully taxes those withdrawals. For retirees moving from states with low or no income tax, this shift triggers substantial new tax liability on previously protected savings. Your nest egg gets hit with an 11% state tax that didn't exist before. Large lump sum withdrawals, necessary for unexpected medical costs or debts, get hammered particularly hard by top tax brackets. You're forced to restrict withdrawals to avoid the tax hit, complicating your ability to respond to financial emergencies. Hawaii's overall score for retirement affordability in 2025 was 5.6 out of 30 points, largely because of these taxing structures. Isolation drives up groceries, gas, and electricity to extremes. Hawaii's cost of living index stands at 85% more expensive than the national average. The isolation thousands of miles from the mainland isn't just romantic, it's expensive. Hawaii has the highest average electricity price in the nation, often more than triple the US average. This is due to reliance on imported petroleum for electricity and isolated island grids. Unlike mainland states with diverse energy sources, Hawaii's infrastructure is vulnerable to global oil price fluctuations. When oil prices spike, your electric bill spikes. Gasoline averages $4.47 per gallon. The national average? $3.10. You're paying 44% more just to drive. To survive these costs, retirees rely heavily on bulk purchasing from discount stores like Costco. But that necessity limits your ability to live in secluded areas. Proximity to commercial discount hubs becomes non-negotiable for financial survival. The idealized retirement in a quiet neighborhood? Economically unfeasible. You're forced near commercial centers, compromising the aesthetic goal of the move. The HARPTA exit tax traps your money when you try to leave. If the financial strain proves too much and you decide to move back to the mainland, Hawaii has one final penalty: HARPTA. The Hawaii Real Property Tax Act. Tax Act requires non-resident sellers to withhold 7.25% of the total sales price at closing. Not the profit, the gross sales price. Sell your home for $1 million, $72,500 gets withheld immediately. Although final tax liability is on capital gain only, the upfront withholding creates a liquidity crisis. You don't have immediate access to a significant portion of your sale proceeds. If you're leaving due to financial distress, this trap prevents you from accessing funds needed to purchase a new mainland home or cover relocation expenses. You're stuck waiting months to file taxes and reclaim the difference. Physician shortage creates dangerous 5-week to 2-month specialist waits. Oʻahu has world-class hospitals, but facilities don't treat patients, doctors do. And Hawaii has a deepening physician crisis. The state faces an estimated shortage of 732 physicians as of 2021, expected to grow. The existing physician workforce is aging. 37.3% of active physicians are 60 or older. Combined with high turnover and low physician income compared to cost of living, medical professionals are leaving for the mainland. The consequence? Nearly half of medical providers, 48%, report specialist wait times ranging from 5 weeks to longer than 2 months. For seniors managing chronic conditions like diabetes or cardiovascular disease, a 2-month wait can turn a manageable condition into an urgent crisis. The high cost of living prevents the state from attracting replacement physicians. This is a self-perpetuating permanent feature of Hawaiian healthcare that's likely to worsen, not improve. Neighbor island living means flying to Oʻahu for every specialist visit. Try to sidestep high housing costs by living on the Big Island, Maui, or Kauai. Most specialty care is centralized on Oʻahu, meaning any complex medical need requires inter-island travel. Flight delays or cancellations due to weather can result in missed urgent appointments. Rescheduling can push you back months given the specialist wait times. Residents of neighbor islands face high out-of-pocket costs for travel, lodging, and food for mandatory medical visits. Insurance often doesn't cover these expenses. Over time, the cumulative cost of repeated flights and hotels creates an economic barrier to necessary specialty care. True access becomes restricted to the wealthy. Chronic illness requires predictable access. Flying over water introduces catastrophic logistical failure points into healthcare, turning routine medical management into an anxiety-ridden, costly burden. Long-term care costs $100,000 more over 5 years. A home health aide in Hawaii costs $97,240 per year. The national average? $77,792. That's an annual difference of $19,448. Homemaker services cost $91,520 annually versus $75,504 nationally, a $16,016 difference. Over 5 years, that additional cost exceeds $100,000. For many retirees, that's the difference between maintaining financial security and exhausting savings years earlier than planned. The root cause is Hawaii's overall unaffordability. Home health aides must afford extreme housing and grocery costs themselves, forcing their wages and service costs to escalate. The burden gets passed directly back to the most vulnerable consumers, the elderly needing care. Skilled labor shortage turns minor repairs into financial emergencies. Maintaining a home in Hawaii is exceptionally expensive due to a shortage of skilled labor. Plumbers, electricians, and roofers frequently relocate to the mainland for higher wages or lower living costs. Hawaii's stringent, non-reciprocal licensing requirements make it difficult for mainland professionals to fill the gap. With few service providers, companies charge top dollar. Termite control, mandatory in the tropical climate, costs $10.77 to $14.75 per linear foot. Major treatments run into the thousands. Retirees delay repairs due to high costs and long wait times. In the humid, pest-prone environment, deferred maintenance rapidly becomes escalating structural damage. A small roof leak becomes major water intrusion. Minor termite activity becomes severe structural compromise. You're paying high prices for parts, high costs to ship those parts from the mainland, and high labor rates once the tradesperson shows up. Small problems become catastrophic problems very quickly. Climate-driven insurance premiums spike 300% without warning. Hawaii faces growing climate risks, hurricanes, rising sea levels, increased storm intensity. The insurance market is reacting, and not in ways that favor fixed budgets. Homeowners face sharp increases in hurricane insurance premiums driven by skyrocketing global reinsurance costs. Catastrophic mainland events like Florida hurricanes and California wildfires drive costs that get passed to Hawaiian policyholders. Condo association master policies have reported premium hikes of 300% or more, resulting in sudden special assessments or massive maintenance fee increases. One year, your maintenance fee is $500 monthly. The next year, it's $1,200 because the master policy renewed at triple the cost. This volatility is fundamentally incompatible with the stability required by fixed income. Insurers also target older homes near the ocean or using single-wall construction with high premiums or non-renewal. Exactly the relatively affordable housing stock retirees seek. Leasehold properties destroy inheritance and equity. Hawaii's unique land ownership system includes leasehold properties that appear cheaper up front, but constitute a financial time bomb. Leasehold ownership means you own the building but only lease the land from the fee owner for a fixed term, often 30 to 99 years. When the lease expires, ownership of land and improvements reverts entirely to the fee owner. For retirees wanting to leave an inheritance, leasehold ownership guarantees zero equity for heirs if you live beyond the lease term. Your largest asset simply vanishes. As the lease term shortens, the property becomes harder to finance and resale value plummets. If health issues force a rapid mainland move, you're stuck with an asset that has low liquidity, restricting buyers to cash-only investors. Oʻahu traffic ranks among the worst in America. Honolulu consistently ranks as one of the most congested cities in the US, third worst in one 2024 ranking, 19th worst in another. This congestion costs the average driver 45 hours lost annually, equating to $806 per driver. Routine errands become multi-hour, high-stress operations. Medical appointments become logistical nightmares when you factor in an hour of traffic each way. That $806 annual cost layers on top of the highest gasoline prices in the nation and a transportation cost index 36% above the US average. Traffic doesn't just waste time, it directly increases the financial burden of vehicle ownership. You move to Hawaii for a relaxed lifestyle. Instead, you're stuck in gridlock on H1, burning $4.47 per gallon gas, trying to make a doctor's appointment you waited 2 months to schedule. Year-round pests and humidity demand. Constant, expensive maintenance. The year-round warm climate is also a perfect incubator for pests and a relentless corrosive agent. Continuous exposure to high sun, intense humidity, and pests accelerates degradation of roofing and exterior finishes. Termites are mandatory to address. Treatment costs $10.77 to $14.75 per linear foot. This isn't optional, it's required to prevent your house from being consumed. Mainland retirees accustomed to seasonal pest control are unprepared for constant, expensive professional management. This expense is rarely modeled correctly in retirement budgets. Your home becomes a high-maintenance liability requiring continuous financial output. Some residents live at higher, cooler elevations to reduce air conditioning costs, but that introduces longer drives for amenities and different microclimates with their own pest issues. Relief in one area requires accepting greater cost elsewhere. Island fever and family separation cost thousands annually. Hawaii requires a minimum 5-hour flight to the mainland. That distance creates rock fever, intense homesickness and restlessness from geographic isolation. Approximately half of Hawaii residents report feeling lonely. The state ranks 14th nationally in social isolation risk for adults 65 and older. Round-trip mainland travel averages $425 to $503, spiking to $653 to $684 during holidays. A couple hosting family twice yearly can incur thousands in unavoidable airfare, a mandatory isolation tax. Isolation isn't just emotional, it's linked to cognitive decline and mental health struggles in older adults. It becomes a medically acknowledged risk factor, especially after spouse loss or mobility issues. The high cost of living and severe traffic compound isolation, making it harder to maintain social connections. The geographical flaw accelerates social isolation, transforming a trade-off into a health hazard. Perpetual cultural integration barriers leave retirees as permanent outsiders. Many mainland transplants dream of joining a welcoming ohana and embracing the aloha spirit. That aspiration often clashes with reality. Despite being described as diverse and welcoming, newcomers struggle to break into established multi-generational social structures. When your identity is perpetually defined as a haole, an outsider, the psychological cost erodes the location's value. You can live in Hawaii for decades and still feel like you're visiting. That detachment is compounded by the year-round tropical climate. Constant weather removes natural psychological markers of passing time, no changing routines, seasonal celebrations, or clothing changes signaling the year's progression. This environmental monotony, combined with lack of professional structure in retirement, contributes to boredom and listlessness. The endless summer removes natural cycles that organize life, contributing to the psychological fatigue of island fever. The inability to achieve genuine cultural integration, paired with isolation's psychological drain, transforms the retirement setting from paradise into a place of persistent emotional dissatisfaction. Hawaii is beautiful, the beaches are stunning, the culture is rich, the climate is enviable. None of that is in dispute. But for retirees on fixed incomes, beauty doesn't pay the bills, and it doesn't compensate for structural vulnerabilities that compound over time. High costs layered on healthcare access barriers, layered on exit penalties, layered on isolation. The retirees who regret moving aren't failures. They made rational decisions based on incomplete information. The marketing materials showed sunsets. They didn't show the $2,800 rent, the 2-month specialist wait times, or the 7.25% withholding tax when you try to leave. If you're considering Hawaii for retirement, run the numbers with brutal honesty. Factor in the GET on your medical care. Calculate what happens if you need long-term care at $97,000 per year. Consider whether you can afford to fly your kids out twice a year, and ask yourself if you're prepared to wait 2 months for a specialist appointment when something goes wrong. For some retirees, particularly those with substantial wealth, excellent health, and no strong mainland family ties, Hawaii can still work. But for the majority, the structural challenges outweigh the aesthetic appeal. Paradise on paper doesn't always translate to security in practice.